Overcoming conflict avoidance. This is one that's different from the others. It's a deep pattern in human history. So the technical definition is address disagreements and problems directly instead of denying, delaying, or avoiding difficult conversations about the disagreements and or problems. So I mentioned this has a deep pattern. 2,000 years ago, if you got ostracized, you were dead. There was no skipping down the road to the next village or kingdom or whatever the case may be. If you did, they'd be like, well, who are you? A new slave, look at that. Or just, you're not, we don't want another mouth to feed. So, avoiding conflict is a quite natural impulse that we have been trying to overcome, because it turns out that when you get through this leadership challenge, when you get through this difficulty with conflict, you can create trust on the other side of it. So I'm starting this one out a little differently because it is different by nature. So I just gave you a lot there, and I'll now stop.
No, I love that because it is so baked into, the part of our brains that organize in these sort of tribal patterns of us versus them, and being kicked out as a result of conflict could be a death sentence. So yeah, it's such a core part of identity and affiliation issues. And to your point, on the other side of the skillful use of conflict, it can be very constructive versus destructive. It's 1 + 1 = 3. The best, I remember on the playground as kids, often a way to become best friends with somebody was after you got in a fight with them.
Yeah.
And now you're like best friends. So what does it feel like for somebody on the inside when they think they're doing the right thing by not having certain conflicts, but they also know it's kind of holding them back? What does it feel like to be stuck in that core challenge?
Yeah, this is a tough one. This one can linger even when you're like, you really want to work on it, right? So it can feel like anything, there's a spectrum, right? Like it can feel like anything from like, oh, I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice person. And like, I don't want to be that. That's good. Good to be a nice person. However, you're going to face conflict no matter how nice you are. Ultimately, there's no avoiding all conflict. So what are you going to do in that situation as a nice person? Also, isn't it sometimes nice to tell people the truth? Right? So sometimes it's actually the nice thing to do. And the person who is very motivated by being a nice person does find themselves in a dilemma like that every now and then, where they're like, I got to tell them the truth, and that it feels bad. So it's good for that person to practice. Then moving up the spectrum, this is going to be a slog. I don't want to do this. We all have that inner teenager, right? Like, what do you want from me? I don't want to do this. This is going to be a slog. I'm going to get mired down in some muck. Why even raise this? It's going to cause more problems than it solves. Oh boy, you can really go to town on yourself, talking yourself out of it. I mean, and you'll feel good. You'll feel like you dodged a bullet. Excellent. I don't have to create conflict. But probably the conflict is already there,
Yeah.
I mean, all the way up to like the person who's just wants to do it and is like, no, I'm only looking at this logically. Logically speaking, this is an unnecessary thing, and it's not going to help with anything immediate, maybe long-term, but I don't care to look out that far, or that's something I'll deal with later on down the line.
Yeah.
So there's a whole range of internal responses that people can have to avoiding conflict. going back to my earlier point, this is very deep in us. So we have a lot. Everybody has their own version of self-talk around not creating conflict.
Yeah, and let me share a great example from a recent client session of what this can look like from a leadership perspective. One of my clients was discussing her team with me, and we'd previously identified somebody that was high potential, but she was low. She had low confidence of this particular guy for promoting, and we were exploring that. Like, what are you really seeing? She's like, well, he's really loved by his team, and I get a lot of positive reports, but the results they're just not quite there, and there are some rumors of some friction that seems to be tolerated longer than I'd like, and what I really need to see at this next level is somebody who can balance that relationship building with also those sort of performance standards. And after further exploring, we realized that his main challenge was providing feedback, and feedback is one of those places that we identify as like, oh, that's going to be conflict. There's going to be disagreement. People's feelings are going to get hurt. I don't want to do that. So you may not feel that this is a thing for you, or you may feel that you're managing it well because people like you. But from a leadership perspective, that's going to show up one way or the other with the performance of your team, what you tolerate, what goes on unaddressed, where you feel like you're really building that rapport, but you're losing out on that performance side. So again, these things can present in all kinds of ways that will hold us back ultimately. And this one about really, overcoming conflict avoidance is perpetual and pervasive.
Yeah. Feedback, yearly performance reviews. It's like, and I don't know if they were talking about yearly performance or just consistent feedback loops, like having those one-on-ones on a weekly or monthly basis. But it's all the same when it comes to the leadership challenge. Don't do it. Don't, okay, if you're going, positive feedback, no problem. So it's not feedback that's the problem. So are you having problems with feedback? No, I'm really good with feedback. Yeah, what about critical feedback? Oh, that's a different story, right? Because that's a little too close to conflict.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, I think this one we're going to get a lot of heads nodding along with this one.
Yeah.